Welcome to Session Sunday. Hi guys, it's Jack Edwards, and in today's session we're going to be focusing on pre-season drills. But before we get into this week's video, make sure to leave us a like and subscribe, and if you missed last week's video, click on the link above. Okay, so moving into the first part of this week's session, we're going to be starting off with a SAQ based drill. So it's with the session being split into 3 parts, we're going to do 3 different types of drills. So the first drill is going to be SAQ based, second one's going to be a bit of conditioning, and the third one's going to be a technical drill. Okay, but before we get into it, let's have a look how many players we're working with this week and the equipment that we'll be using. So in terms of players this week, you're going to split your groups into 6, okay? So if you have more players, that's fine. You can go up to 8 in here or even 10, okay? And if you have more than that, you're going to look to obviously try and set 2 groups up at once. In terms of the equipment, you're going to be focusing on using balls, bibs, cones. If you have poles as well, that'd be great. And then obviously agility ladders or hurdles if you don't have them. Now, in terms of the setup for this part of the session, so the distance from the ladder to the middle cone is going to be 15 yards either side, so 30 yards, and then the gap in the middle, and then the distance between these 2 cones here is going to be 12 yards, so 24 and then 30 up there. Now, they're not competing against each other here, okay? How it's going to work, the players are going to move through the ladders before retrieving the ball. So they're both going at the same time, retrieve the ball, okay, these players start to move up. Then the players look to move around the cone, okay, coming all the way around it, okay, so they're going to do all the way around, all the way around. As they come back to where they started, then they're going to dribble to the cone on the outside. Player then looks to drive to the cone on the outside, drives to the cone on the outside, and then as they turn, okay, they look to drive back to where they picked the ball up before, but on the opposite side, leave the ball there for the next player, sprint round to the back of the queue, okay, and then the next player will go. So we're coming through again, retrieve the ball, come through the ladders, retrieve the ball, okay, we're driving up, so we're going to drive on the left side, come round, all the way round, again, so we're working off our lefts here, okay, drive round, okay, attack the space there, and then the players then look to go again, next player steps up and does the same, okay, and you're going to keep the drill going, okay, but for about 60 to 90 seconds, okay? Or you can say each player has 2 or 3 reps, okay? Then, after next time you do it, you can switch and go the opposite way. So when the players retrieve the ball, okay, instead of driving to their left, okay, they can dribble to their right, okay? And then drive round and do the same thing. So when they're moving through the ladders, okay, we need to make sure that we're staying light on our feet, pumping our arms, okay, making sure that the heels aren't dragging across the floor. And when we retrieve the ball, make sure we maintain control of the ball. So obviously looking to attack space, but lots of little touches, okay? So using the inside and outside of the foot. As we're trying to slow down to turn, okay? Making sure we're staying in control of the ball. We slow ourselves down. We use both feet to keep the ball close to the body, and then we can accelerate into space again. We will now move into our first animation before moving on to part 2 of this week's session. Now moving into part 2 of this week's session, we're now focusing more on a conditioning based drill. So it's going to be focusing on sprinting and turning and accelerating into space. So in terms of the setup, okay, for this part, we're going to have between the start points on each side is going to be 15 yards, okay, so 30 yards in total. And again, it'll be the same, the opposite side, okay, so that's going to be 30 yards in total. So for the players, okay, they're going to work hard for about 15 to 20 seconds, okay, depending on how quick they get this. Then they get a slight rest. So the 2 players go at the same time. Start off by them both sprinting, okay, around the first cone. Then both players sprint directly to the opposite side, so this way they can open the legs, okay. Then they're going to move round, okay, and then they're going to move to the middle cone. As they get to the middle cone, they both look to turn and then finish through the cones there. As soon as the players finish through the cones there, they then join the opposite queue, and then our next 2 players look to go again. So then we get these 2 players sprinting up, turning, sprinting out, turning, sprinting across, turning, and then finishing through. So it's about, for us, accelerating into space, slowing down as we approach, okay, to be able to turn quickly. So as we slow down to here, retain a nice low body position, ready to turn, and then once we get to here, accelerate out, okay, get into our stride, okay, making sure, again, we're focusing on our technique, make sure we're pumping the arms, okay, heels off the floor, okay, and then once we get to here, slow down again, burst into space to slow down and then turn, okay, so we're replicating different movements and change of direction in a game. And again, you'll go round every so many times for the players, so you could say once every player has gone round, has made a full, like they've gone round each side twice. So once this player has done this side twice and this side twice to there, so fully round twice, then the players can have a rest, okay? And then do the same again. We will now move into our next animation before moving on to the final part of this week's session. Okay, now moving into the final part of this week's session, we're now going to move into our technical based drill, which is again going to be focusing on a little bit of fitness at the same time. So we're trying to work at a high intensity, okay, for a period of time. So we're focusing on, as we start to get tired, making sure we're doing the right things. So, in terms of the setup, okay, for this part of the session, okay, we're going to have 10 yards between this gap here and then 15 either side. You can decrease that if you want to as well. Okay, you can make that 12 yards and 12 yards, okay, but obviously want a little bit of space, okay, for the passes and for the players to move into. So this player will swap after a minute with one of these players, okay. Now, if you had more players, okay, you could just add an extra, if you had, let's say, groups of 4, you can add another player here, and then this player can just follow their pass, and when we have this player moving into here, they can move back to the start. How it's going to start, this player is going to receive on the back foot, okay, so body shape to receive, open out, drive to here quickly. As they reach there, they're going to play it into this player on who's the highest available player. Then they're going to set back in to play around, receive it, touch out the feet, okay, to then play into this player here. And by the time this player opens out, we want this player in that position to move away, receive on the back foot, drive into space, and again, 1, 2, play into space, drive forward. Again, this player's movement there. Play in, move across to receive, back foot, open out, again, movement, 1, 2, into space, take it forward, okay, play into the space. So this player's got to constantly move off the cone, receive on the back foot, and then again, when we receive it, can we look to open out, okay, so receive on that back foot, open the hips out, okay, body shape, adapt to it, take it into the space, and again, 1, 2, play into the space, attack the space there, play forward and repeat. And then after about a minute, okay, one of these players will swap over, okay, and then go again, and the next player will get a rest, and so forth. So, and then we can look to change it and go the opposite side, so the players can receive this side, then do the bounce passes there, so we're working on both the right and left foot. So after about 30, 40 seconds, okay, it becomes more difficult for the players once they start getting tired, so it's making sure we're still doing the right things, okay, still receiving the ball on the back foot, driving into space, the tempo and execution of our passes, okay, remains at a high quality. We will now move into our final animation before concluding this week's session. Thanks for watching this week's video. Don't forget to head over to our website where you can view over 900 session plans like this. And we'll see you next week for another Session Sunday.